For your viewing pleasure, I have this Dell Latitude CS. This laptop dates back to approximately 2000. It was probably one of the last notebooks to feature an Intel Pentium II mobile processor using the Intel 440BX chipset. Now, if I recall, my first Pentium III also had the 440BX chipset on it, but I could be wrong on that one. Anyway, this laptop is more of a commercial-grade Dell product. I think I've talked about this before in many of my videos. Almost every computer company has a professional and a consumer product line. And there are stark quality differences between the consumer line and the professional line. Mostly in the name of features and build quality. The consumer products typically have more features that would benefit a consumer. For example, you'll find a lot of the earlier consumer-grade laptops will have integrated CD-ROM drives. The professional machines are going to have external drives to save on weight and improve compact proportions, to support compact proportions. Upstairs, I actually have a Dell, what is that, a Dimension? No. I should just go get it. Inspiron, yes. The Inspiron was Dell's consumer line. College kids, consumers would buy those. The Latitudes were for the working men and women of the time period. And by working men and women, I don't mean street corner working. I mean actually doing, professional businessy stuff, like crunching numbers and firing people. But anyway, the Dell Latitude was one of Dell's more prominent commercial-grade laptops. One of the features I like about this machine is it's quite durable. It has an actual, honest-to-God magnesium alloy cover. It feels metallic. It looks metallic. By God, I think it is metallic. It features a magnesium alloy case stiffener. I believe it actually carries that throughout the whole machine. It has quite a bit of stability to it. I mean, this case is pretty strong. It features, surprisingly, it doesn't have the AcuPoint or mouse, eraser head mouse that you often see on professional laptops of this time period from many manufacturers, including Dell. Now, the other thing you're going to find on a lot of professional-grade laptops are docking station ports. This one has one right here, as well as, of course, a parallel and VGA port. There is no 9-pin serial. This was made around the time when they started phasing those out of laptops. And judging from the condition of the back of this machine, I'm going to say it was docked for quite a bit of its life. Docked and redocked, undocked and redocked. There's a lot of, looks like latch or impact from a docking station back there. Typical of many Dell laptops, this one doesn't have spring-loaded doors on the PC card slot. This would have had card slot blanks that would be popped in here when nothing was installed. And this port, of course, is for the external floppy or CD drive, which we have the CD drive. Thank God I have that, because it makes my job a whole lot easier here. And here we have the air output for the cooling fan. I believe the input is here, or it could be vice versa. This has an NT4 license code. If you want to copy that down, pause the video and do so now, because I won't be using it, and I don't care. Got it? Good. Let's take a look at the memory card, memory slot door. I was given this laptop by a coworker, so the explicit instructions were I need the hard drive destroyed. So I said, sure, no problem. I popped the drive on the individual's desk, whipped out a hammer, and smashed it. And I got the job done. Alright, looks like we have one slot. that is populated with a 128 meg stick. Now this laptop has 64 megabytes, I believe, on board. I believe the maximum RAM is 320 megabytes. So you could put a 256 in there. That's the biggest it'll take. When I got it, it was running Windows XP Home Edition. Now remember, this is a Pentium II 400 with 128 megs of RAM. Windows XP doesn't really run very well on a Pentium 4 with 128 megs of RAM. So you can only imagine how terrible the performance was. It was just absolutely bloody awful. So we're going to put something a little more reasonable on it. We're going to put Windows 98 on it. That's what it could have shipped with optionally. It would have probably shipped with Windows 2000. This one shipped with NT4. Because NT4 was still widely used around 2000. It was only about 5 years old at the time, so that kind of makes sense. But we're going to go ahead and put Windows 98 on it. It actually says right here on the sticker, designed for professional, 2000 professional, NT4 workstation, or Windows 98. And those are the three options you would have been able to order this laptop with. One of the other things about professional grade laptops is that they can be ordered pretty much configured any way possible. When I buy computers for work, I only buy the professional grade products from Lenovo or Dell. And I always customize them with whatever OS I want, because I just want the license. I don't care about what's on them. I'm going to put whatever I want on it anyway. Everything I get on the door gets rebuilt from scratch. I do it all, and I do it exactly the way I want them deployed, and then I image them, and that's how I deploy a professional grade machine in the work environment. But you can always order a laptop or desktop from the professional end of the purchasing department, the professional end of the corporate store, if you will, and get pretty much whatever you want for hard drives, memory, and etc. I'm finding that in the industry, a lot of the consumer grade stuff is going away from build to order, and people are buying a lot more computers off the shelf these days. You can still build to order some things, but often people just buy whatever's on sale. So, at least the people I know. Unless you're buying an Apple. There's no such thing as a sale on Apples. But let's go ahead and grab a Windows 98 disk and see if we can light this baby up. Alright, so I've got my external drive hooked up. Now, quick note, why would they make the drive external? As I mentioned earlier, they really were looking for weight and size savings in this laptop. And it looks like they were prioritizing durability as well as portability. Many laptops of this time period with integrated optical drives were almost twice as thick as this one. Except for... No, most of them were. They were about twice as thick. Because the optical drives themselves... I can just take this out of the bay. This is a pull-out unit. The drives themselves take up a considerable amount of space. Today they're made a little bit thinner than this. But as you can clearly see, the drive with the bezel attached, could they have shoved it in here? Probably not. They would have had to have cut the battery down in size. The battery takes up most of the front area of this laptop. The motherboard takes up the rest of it. They hadn't perfected the miniaturization of motherboards by that point, and many motherboards consisted of more than one board. Usually you had your power board, your main board with the processor, and sometimes they had an auxiliary board that would connect to, that would actually have drive interfaces and connect to the hard drive, etc. So, they really hadn't perfected the miniaturization by this point. But in the end, they came up with a pretty slick package that, transports quite well. And they also realized that many people didn't need the CD drives full time at that point. One of the reasons the MacBooks today are able to be made so small is because they lack things like optical drives. And what the hell is in here? I didn't even know there was anything in there. Okay, it's actually going to try to boot up off of whatever's on this hard drive, which I don't know what's on it. But, yeah, of course not. F1 to continue. I kind of wonder if it will boot up off of it. I'm not even sure what's on this drive. I just put it in. Oh, it's from my parts bin, and it crashed. It blew screens. The hard drive that's in here is actually an 80 gig drive that I pulled from a Lenovo ThinkPad. No, it was just a Lenovo N100 series. That's where it came from. So let's see if we can get him to set up and change the boot priority. Interesting. It must be locked out. So here's the full specs. It's a Pentium II-400, 256 megs of system RAM, 4 megs of video. So it has, well, it's got a 128 meg module in there now, apparently, on board. Because the module that I pulled out of there was a 128, I think. It's very interesting. And what's interesting here is it doesn't want to, it's completely frozen up. Let's try that again. No? There we go. Where was it? F2. There we go. This laptop did come from a corporate environment originally. And as such, it may have passwords on it that I can't, unfortunately may not be able to reset. But it looks like we got a problem here. Yeah, it's actually freezing up. Let's try unplugging the optical drive and see if that helps our cause. Let's see what this does. So yeah, I put an 80 gig drive in it because that's all I had kicking around my parts bin. I actually have a couple of 20s here I could pop in. Maybe I'll do that. I could use that 80 gig drive elsewhere, that's why I'm saying that. I'm kind of thinking out loud here. I don't need an 80 gig drive with this laptop. But it keeps freezing up. Yeah, it just freezes up. Alright, let's take that drive out and put something else in there. It probably doesn't. From within the depths of my pile of junk upstairs, I was able to procure this IBM TravelStar 30 gig. It might work. It might not. It might blow up in my face. Who knows? We'll find out in a minute. So we're going to pull this 80 out. The drive was never tested, so it could be bad. It could be hanging in the BIOS, or God only knows. Alright, let's pop it out. And of course, when I smashed the original drive, I kept the caddy. I mean, you gotta do that. When you have the original caddy, it's like sacrilege to not save it. So we're going to release the drive from the cage within. Alright, what was this one? This was a Western Digital Scorpio. And it came out of a Lenovo ThinkPad. Does it have the Lenovo logo on it? No, it does not. But that's where it came from. In case you wanted to know, that is where it came from. And now I'm going to take this little connector adapter and pop it on like this. Oh, quick note. For those of you not familiar with IDE laptop drives, and some of you legitimately aren't, there are some shunts on the back. You can actually set these to master or slave, and I believe the settings are printed right on the front of the drive. These actually use half-height shunts or jumpers. They're getting harder to find, I think, but yeah, you can actually cut down a full-sized jumper and put it in there. I've done that in a pinch, but if you don't have a stockpile of half-height jumpers, you're going to want to procure some. This way you can actually use these drives in a desktop system if you choose to do so. Using the one of many adapters that you can source on the web. I used to have a few of them kicking around. I've got one at work that I use only for drive recovery. But on older laptops, which hasn't really been much of a demand for that at work in the past year or two. But every once in a while, someone pops up and says, hey, I've got this old laptop, it won't turn on, and I've got all my pictures on it. I need to get them off. It's always the pictures. Nobody wants anything else. They don't want their tax returns. They don't want their personal inventories or whatever the hell, their high school papers. They just want their pictures, and I can understand that. Alright, so we're going to pop that in right there. And looks like we're going to need these two little ones. So I don't know what I'm going to do with this laptop once I get it going again. I mean, I don't have much of a need for a Pentium II laptop, let alone, you know, I have a golden rule. Any laptop that I hang on to has to be mint condition, because I have very limited space, and I don't have any need to stockpile worthless, beat-up old laptops. Some people do. I don't. And the costs of selling them on eBay and the hassle of dealing with it all doesn't appeal to me. So, you know, it's like, what do I do with these old laptops? I have so many of them that I haven't even filmed yet. Just sitting around, mostly at work. And they're basically all about to be scrapped. I mean, and we're not talking old stuff from the 90s. We're talking, you know, stuff that's 8 years old, 9 years old, 10 years old. But anyway, enough of that. Let's try this again. Entering setup. Let's see what we got here. It's not prompting me for a password. But there's a very real possibility that, oh, I was right. The drive was choking the BIOS. It didn't understand the drive geometry, so that's what was probably doing it. So here we go. This gives us a rough estimate as to the date of the BIOS version. So this laptop, if it hasn't been reflashed, was likely made sometime after 2000. I didn't get the date off the drive that I pulled out, but I want to say it was sometime in 2000. I know I looked at it briefly. Alright, so where were we? Oops. Alt. Was it Alt P? Let's see. Passwords are disabled, so we don't have to worry about that. Quick note on passwords. Oh, here we go. Yeah. We're going to do CD drive, internal HDD, third boot device, none. Now the BIOS, or the CMOS battery is toast on this one. So it's not going to save any of our settings. We're going to start computer with CD-ROM support. We're going to run fdisk on the drive and make sure it has a nice healthy partition in which to work from. If you can find a copy of Windows 98 online and you don't have a license code, it's not the end of the world. There are plenty of sites out there with old Microsoft serial numbers. And I got these off of one of those sites. But this has codes for most of their software from the early 90s to the late 90s. So we're going to do an fdisk. Oops. And we're going to enable large disk support. Yes, we want to support NTFS. Display information. Let's just see what we got here. We've got one partition. It is NTFS. We're going to delete that partition by selecting number 3. We'll delete primary. Boom, boom, done. Oh, wait, not boom, boom, done. delete partition. Delete extended. Wait a minute. It's actually going to be non-DOS, I think. Yeah. Partition 1. Delete it. Gone. Yes. Good. Okay, display, let's just confirm there's nothing there. Boom, done, create primary. Now it's going to do a drive integrity check. If it fails at this point, we're not going to use the drive. If it finds any issues with the drive, we will not use it. We will format the drive, and if it finds even a single bad sector, we will not use it. I have other drives to choose from. I don't want junk in my laptops. On a quick side note, if anyone has one of these that they are scrapping, I could definitely use a hinge cover. That's all that's wrong with this laptop. It's missing a hinge cover. It's got some corrosion on the metallic surface of the lid, and that's it. It's even got the external drive, so that's pretty cool. This is about as good as you're going to get when you have an old corporate laptop land in your possession. This is like the best case scenario at this point in time, unless it's been sitting in a bag and never used. A lot of the laptops that I salvaged, or that I have in my collection that I'm not getting rid of, are laptops that have spent most of their life unused. So I'm highly selective. Like I said before, I've got a Dell Inspiron upstairs. It is the base model. It is what I call it, the Black Friday laptop. Let me go dig it out. While we're formatting this drive, let's take a look. So here we have the Dell Inspiron I was talking about. The Inspiron line was Dell's consumer end or lower end laptop. They weren't bad. Honest to God, they weren't bad machines. There was nothing really wrong with them. They just weren't really optimized for business travelers. And if you're sitting at the boardroom table and you're the guy with the Inspiron, you know, it's kind of like wearing a Timex to a major business deal. They weren't that great, but they weren't that bad. I call this one the Black Friday special because it is stripped down. It is bare bones. It has no onboard Ethernet, although it had an option for it. It only has a built-in 56K modem. It has no DVD drive. Actually, does it? I don't think it did. I think it had like the base option optical drive that was available for this model. Yeah, it's just a basic CD drive, no CD burner. When you open it up, it doesn't have the optional AccuPoint device, just a basic trackpad. This was a laptop that you'd buy your college kid just to get him to shut up. It's got the basic Celeron processor, Windows 2000. I think it had 2000 or Millennium. I'm not sure which. Does it even turn on? It's been sitting for months, years even. No, the battery's flat. I had a strong suspicion that this was one of the Dells that was offered with the purchase of a Ford Focus. But I think I figured out that it wasn't one of those because it wasn't made during that time frame. This laptop is about the same age as the one that we're formatting downstairs. But like I said, it's as bare bones as they come. Believe it or not, though, because it is in such good, it's almost in unused condition, which is the only reason I've kept it around so long, because it is in immaculate condition. And the story of how I got this one, my uncle actually gave it to, or didn't give it to me. He wanted me to fix it up for him so he could use it on the internet. And I politely said, look, you're wasting my time with this. He has a history of doing that. And he brings me complete, utter crap and wants me to turn it into something he can use for Facebook or something like that. Everybody has that relative. Well, so do I. And in the end, I actually did him a favor. I got him a much better machine. I think I gave him a Pentium IV. And sent him on his merry way. This one here, yeah, I gave him a much better machine. I said, look, I'm not going to waste my time on this thing. But I was more than happy to salvage it and keep it as a collector's item because it really is in unused condition. Let's fire it up. It's got the twin turbo cooling fan in the back. It's got the smaller display option. What is that, like a 12-inch? I mean, really, this was as Spartan as you could get in 2000 for laptops. Windows Millennium Edition. I mean, this is like the Edsel of laptops. I actually have all the original software that came with it. And here, I can find it. It's in this bag here somewhere. I know I have it. I'm trying to find the software that came with it. I know I've got it. Yeah, here it is. This is the original OS CD, Windows Millennium, with drivers. And I think the drivers are in there. And here's the original Windows Millennium Quick Start Guide. So I've got some of the stuff that it came with. And he got it probably from a pawn shop. I think that's exactly where he got it. And he paid too much for it. Whatever it was too much. But you can see, I mean, it's got these dummy plates where the acupoint buttons are supposed to be, and it's just wimpy, crappy. What's it got? 32 megs of RAM, I think. I've done nothing to this. I fully rebuilt it. It's got 64 megs of RAM. 64 megs of RAM. Oh man, what a load. But the reason I hung on to this is because these are hard to find. A lot of these bare bones laptops actually got used heavily and discarded. And I bet you someone bought this. Probably a Black Friday deal. Or some kind of a... I don't know. I don't know what would have possessed someone to buy this laptop new. But they did. And it survived because it was never used. Somewhere I have the blanks that go in here, actually. I had a pile of those kicking around. But this is the kind of stuff that I like to hang on to. The condition is too good to be true, and it'll be around for a while. The battery in this laptop, interestingly enough, actually holds a full charge. It might take a while for it to get charged up, but it actually holds the full charge. So let's get back to the one we have downstairs and see where we are with it. Okay, make partition active. Yes, please. Typically when I find a laptop with the slots missing, I'll actually source out a Zircom Ethernet adapter. The Zircom Ethernet adapters are double height, and they have the connectors built right into them, making them very handy for that very purpose. This one does not have an Ethernet jack anywhere, actually. Yeah, it wasn't until like right around 2001 or 2 Ethernet jacks became standard equipment on every laptop. The one we just saw upstairs is actually from, I think, 2001 or 2. And so it's actually about 2 years newer than this one. But way suckier. Way suckier. So let's get this drive done, and we'll move on. Once we've run fdisk and restarted, we need to format the drive. Now, we are doing this because I don't want Windows to do it for me, because I want to see what the actual condition of the drive is in. So we're going to format it as a system disk by typing in format c:/s. Okay, maybe not. Actually, you know what? I don't think the formatter is on the disk. No, it's not. Let's see. It's in there somewhere. It's not loaded in path. I think it's out in tools. No. You know what, I think the formatter is built into the Windows. I haven't done this in so long. Smart drive, CDE. Ah, there it is, format.com. So we're going to run this in the command prompt. Like I said, the reason I'm doing this is because I want to know if there are any bad sectors on this drive. And this will tell us. The Windows installer may not, and I don't recall if it does or not, but it may not report the bad cluster count to us during the install. That's why I'm doing this. This is going to take longer, but it's also, helpful if I want to do a, if I want to, ensure that the drive I'm installing is, of integrity. Again, we don't want to be installing Windows on a failing drive. So this is probably going to take about a little under an hour. But like I said, it's worth it in the... Alright, looks like we have no bad sectors. Yeah. Alright, now we're going to restart the machine and boot off the optical drive and see what happens. Alright. We're going to start the Windows 98 install. Hopefully no drivers need to be downloaded or procured. I anticipate this to be a pretty clean install. I don't anticipate any problems. So let's see what happens. I may just throw this machine on eBay. Someone will want it. You never know. Okay. The drive sounds horrible, but it sounds normal. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. I believe it'll do the install without even prompting for a license. But if it does, I have one prepared, so shouldn't be any problems there. And I believe at this point it's going to ask me how intense I want to be, and how big I want the installer to be. Let's see how that goes. This is telling me my battery is, you know the word I'm thinking. You know the word I'm thinking. FUBAR would be a more appropriate version. It's FUBAR. If you don't know what FUBAR stands for, well, use the Googles. Alright, come on. That would be very distracting, I gotta say. Beep, 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 beep. Beep, 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 beep. Very distracting. Come on, what's going on here? Okay, yes, I want to install in Windows directory. Well, we're young. I want to point out that this is a sign of the times. This is back when laptops typically had hard drives that were magnitudes smaller than desktops. While your typical desktop hard drive might be around 1 to 2 gigabytes, your laptop may only have 800 megabytes or less. And that was relatively common, because the miniaturization and scalability of disk storage wasn't quite up to the level it is today. Nowadays, your laptop and desktop, if you have both, are more likely to have the same size drives. If not, the laptop could even have a bigger drive, typically. So when you install a portable installation, it's going to be missing a lot of features that are media and graphics and multimedia heavy. Will be removed, and the installation will be optimized for smaller hard drives and lesser hardware, slower processors, etc. I've always done a custom install. I typically install everything. If I have a drive that isn't really limited in space, I'm going to throw everything on there. Why not? I don't need to. I don't need Web TV for Windows, but what if I decide to use it? That's the logic I use. I always install all multimedia options, actually I take the online services out because they're all obsolete, but yes, there was a Web TV for Windows. Just in case you wanted to have that limited web experience on your computer. Yeah. Anyway, don't need multi-language, I don't need accessibility, but I'm going to put it on anyway. Why not? Disk space is not limited in this environment. I have a 30 gig drive. I'll never fill it. I'll never use the computer, but that's besides the point. We're here having fun, right? I'm having fun, you're having fun. Let's all have fun. Now it's going to run the install, and it'll be done probably in about half an hour. Alright, it finally booted, and it looks like we have some driver issues. Specifically, up to and including video. Actually, maybe not. We did have an audio device issue. I might be able to correct that just by downloading the driver. But it appears that our display driver is incorrect. So it just loaded the standard display driver. So I'm going to have to download the drivers for this from Dell's website, which I believe are still available. So no worries there. But it is up and running. And other than installing drivers, she's good to go. Not sure what I'm going to do with it, or if I'm going to even keep it at all. But hey, at least it made for some good video material. Well, chances are I'm going to go out, I'm going to find the drivers, and I'm probably going to throw it on eBay. For those of you who might be interested in purchasing it, if I do list it, and please don't ask in the comments, I'm not going to answer. If I do wind up putting it up, it'll be on my eBay account, which is BB Computer Museum. That's BB Computer Museum. It's an eBay account that I opened when I was 16 or 15, well below the legal age. But I've had that account since 2000, I want to say 2001, and it has served me well. So if I do end up selling it, that's where it's going, and you never know, it may show up there. But BB Computer Museum is my eBay username, and if I do put stuff up for sale here and there, that's where it's going to go. So thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more. There will be more. Don't know when, don't know what, but there will be more. Until then, guys, thanks for watching.